Thank you for tuning into the Radicards podcast on radicards.com. I'm your host, Patrick Greeno, and today we're going to talk about, just stuff in the hobby. And, actually, all of this, this entire podcast is going to be dedicated to this stuff in the hobby. Sometimes we talk about sports. Today we're just going to jump right into the hobby stuff. So, the Nationals coming up this year in summertime 2019. Everybody's looking forward to it. It's planning on going. It's going to be in Chicago this year. Great venue for the National. I really like the Chicago venue at the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center. Got me thinking about a story that someone told me back in 2010. I was working at a shop back then, and the owner had a friend of his whose Conseco collection I had auctioned off for him over the course of that year and into 2011. And he was telling me that this guy went to the National with him when he was younger, and on the first day, first hour, first booth he visited, he spent all his money.
God.
I was like, that's amazing. Like, he must have had some really good stuff, but he was a Conseco collector, so I guess he bought a bunch of signed bats at that time. And signed bats are not cheap. I mean, they can be expensive, 3 figures to start. So, I just remember thinking about that and being like, gosh. I don't know what I would do if I get to the first day, first hour, first booth that I visit at the National, and it had, one of the big cards I've been looking for a long time, and it required all the funds I brought to the National. Now, I've thought about this before, and my, a situation that I would, deliver would be I would spend all my money on that one card because I went there just to buy cards. So what better than to buy the one card I've been after, or at least one of the one cards I've been after for a long time. And then I would just spend the rest of the week, creating content for Radicards.com or, shooting video or interviewing people. I've thought about this. I have. And so I don't think it's bad to do that if it's something you absolutely have to have that you find that first day, first hour, first booth. Ryan, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I think I've gone through phases in collecting where I have very specific goals and where I have very general goals.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm in that sort of general category. So I think going to a National and busting my entire budget on the first booth is probably something I wouldn't do right now in 2019. But yeah, when I was heavy player collecting, a year or two ago, I could see that happening. Because there are some cards. It's crazy how sports cards and the internet, it's such an incredible thing to sink your teeth into.
Yeah.
There's so many people out there that have all these amazing items, but there are some cards that just don't surface.
Right.
They just never do. And it's so frustrating because you think, but I have the internet on my side. I can find anybody, I can find anything, but you can't.
Yeah, and to like piggyback on that, someone, I used to hear people say things about the National, like if you've never seen it before, you'll see it at the National. That is actually untrue. Okay, there's a lot of stuff at the National, but not all of it. Okay, there are a lot of stuff on my top 10 list, my most wanted Frank Thomas list, that I don't see at the National. They're just too darn rare to find, and even online, I might see one encounter in 10 years. More recently, there's been more encounters of one specific card, the Mirror Gold. There have been a few of those have surfaced over the past year and a half, but they've all gone for serious figures. And so it's kind of bad timing sometimes for me for that stuff. But whatever the case is, like the National being the biggest, gnarliest convention I've ever been to for cards, my favorite one by far, hands down. There are a lot of great shops and shows and little conventions peppered about the country throughout the year, and I love them all, of course, but at least all the ones I've been to. But the National is unbeatable in that capacity with just general dealer turnout, attendance participation, availability of just content. It doesn't have everything, but darn lots of stuff. And so I really like that about the National. And if I get to a first booth, first hour, first day on the National, and I brought, say, $2,000, let's just say, and the guy has a Mirror Gold and he wants $2,000 for it, I wouldn't even think twice. I would just flop over the cash. I might try to negotiate down a bit, but if there's no room for negotiation, I wouldn't have any problem spending my entire budget at that very time. Because it's like, think about it. if you turn this into the last hour of the last day and the last booth you visit at the National, and it has that guy has what you're looking for, and you've now spent a good chunk of your budget, and you wished you would have seen that to begin with, that's the situation where you think like, gosh, had I seen this early, I would have bought it. So really, you'd be saving yourself the headache by just buying it outright that first day, first hour, first booth visited. So this is kind of an interesting thing to think about, because we save up all year to go to the National. We wait all year to go to this thing. We look forward to it all year long. We get home from the National, and then we're like, can't wait for the next one. And so the National is just such an important interaction in that way. And it's like, what do you go for? What's the goal? I had a conversation with someone recently. I told this person, I was like, hey, I've seen your website. She's like, oh, I need a new one, huh? I was like, no, it just depends on what you want your website to do for you. If you want your website just to be a single page that markets what you do, then you don't need much more than, or anything more than what you already have. So it's like, if you want to go to the National to like hang out with colleagues, meet people, and just talk to dealers and stuff, it doesn't matter when you find that card that you're looking for, if it's the first day, first hour, first booth, or if it's the last day, last hour, last booth.
Mm-hmm.
If you're there if your experience is just more experiential in the sense of interactions, then when and how you find something is sort of less importance to your goals. Now, if you're there to buy, also too, this might also accommodate that need too, because you're there to get rare cards, and if this one interaction presents you with an ability to get something really high end and rare, why not? Why not? So I just want to talk about that because I think when I first heard about this story in 2010, I was like, gosh, I can't imagine spending the rest of that day and the rest of the National without any money.
Yeah, I have a somewhat similar story. Not with the National, but I was at a convention in Long Beach last September. And at the time, I know me and you were talking about the 93 Jeter SP rookie.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And so that was sort of my goal at the time. And I think literally the first booth I walked up to had a great example of that card. Was essentially what I wanted to pay for it. But I knew it was basically going to blow my budget for that day. So I just went for it. And I ended up picking a few other odds and ends throughout the day, but I was super happy just to sort of be like, well, it's 10 a.m. I already have my card.
Get it done.
Yeah, get it done. This is going to be kind of like a less stressful situation in the long run.
Right. Totally.
Obviously, the National is a much bigger time and financial commitment because you're most likely traveling and you're staying in a hotel. And
yeah.
It's a multi-day ordeal. But, I can relate to just kind of going for it on the first day in the first hour.
Yeah, sometimes you got to do it. And the thing about that Long Beach show, I've been to that many times. There are little like side panels and things you can go to and attend that are fun. You can like watch live auctions for rare coins, or
yes.
There's like little other educational series that take place while that show is happening. That's a fun show. It's a 3-day thing. It's fun. I've been to it many times, and that was the first show actually I've ever been to that I've walked out not spending a single dime or a single penny. And that's happened to me multiple times at that show. And so it's like, usually I go and I try to get something, but that show was the first time where I was like, oh, I can't afford anything, or I can't find anything I want. Because it's a coin and stamp show. It's less of a card show now. And so, and the cards, the dealers that exist are like high-end auction houses, most of them. So it's a good place to take photos. I was able to hold a Joe Jackson card with a red border. It was like $90,000. I held that. I held the Napa Joy from Gowdy. I held one of those. It was a really high-end one, too. I think I held either the Eddie Plank or the Sherry McGee Error as well back in 2012 when I first went to that thing. I really liked that show just for taking photos. It's a good time. So, cool stuff. I'm glad we got to talk about the National first day stuff. Let's move on here. In a previous podcast, we talked about the Ronald Acuna's Superfractor Auto that was pulled like right when he made the Rookie of the Year award. Do you remember that? And so that card the picture of it had the card in a top loader with the top sticker folded over the top. And I originally had thought that and it might still be a redemption card because I don't know if Topps sells those stickers to just consumers to use And so I just always assume when I see top stickers over the tops of cases, they're the redemptions that Top sends out when you pull the redemption card in a pack. Oh, I got the Ronald Acuna Superfractor Auto, and that's what that's the card that they get, and it's got the top sticker over the top. I can't confirm yet factually what the reason for those stickers are beyond just knowing that they're produced by Topps. And are they used just for redemptions, or do people use them for their own collections? Ryan, do you know more about this at all?
I don't, and I think, at least personally, there's some confusion because I always associated the Topps sticker with something that you buy from Topps Vault.
Right.
And because I purchased a handful of things from Topps Vault over the years, and those are the only items in my collection that have the sticker on it.
Right.
And I've also had redemptions over the years. And if I recall correctly, I never got a sticker on the redemption. So perhaps their policy has changed. But it is a little confusing because I always associated the sticker with something being a little kind of extra special in a way.
Right.
So yeah, it's hard to say. I really don't know. Maybe we can get a rep from Topps on the podcast sometime to get a real answer.
I mean, because look, this sticker is why I assumed the Acuna Superfractor Auto was a redemption. It might not be a redemption. I don't know factually. So just kind of like a correction and dialogue from a former podcast, just to be sure that I'm not, I'm fact checking myself to make sure I'm producing or providing solid factual information here. So this is kind of up in the air for me because I'm still learning about why the top stickers are used on certain cards. I don't know if the Acuna Superfractor Auto was a redemption. So anyway, I just wanted to cover that because I think that's just a good touch point on something we discussed some months back. So I want to move on to this other thing here. Ryan, you remember a while back we talked about a 2011 Bowman Chrome Orange Auto Goldschmidt, Paul Goldschmidt,
Yes.
selling for $250.
Yeah, I think I was the one that made us aware of that situation.
Yeah. I honestly think that was a potentially illegitimate copy because I've seen a few quote unquote illegitimate copies of that card, and some of the auctions are using the same photo that auction used.
Yep. You know what? And I'm glad that we were able to talk about this today because I have been thinking about that. Mostly because I've been shopping for Trout stuff.
Yeah.
From 2011, like 2012, and earlier.
Uh-huh.
And there's a lot of reprints out there, and most of the auctions make it aware. They say this is a reprint, that's why I'm charging you $5 for it.
Right.
But some don't, and it got me thinking about the Goldschmidt thing, how that was such an anomaly.
Yeah.
If you look at other sold listings for that card, I mean, that card, that's a huge card. So
huge.
And $250, I mean, that's maybe $2.50, but it's unfortunate whoever ended up with that card.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
We talked about this before. There's a very distinguishable difference between reprints and counterfeits. Okay.
Yep.
These would fall into the latter category. Okay. So, and we talked about the hobby. It's like, they're going to find unscrupulous behavior almost in any spectrum of the world. And so the hobby is no different. Collectibles are especially no different. And so I just was looking at that auction. I was like, I'm not convinced that's the legitimate, authentic, pack-issued autograph version of the card. But I don't know factually. I'm just like looking at this from like okay, the reason why I bring this up is because I saw another auction with the same photo, and it said it was a reprint, and it sold for, some amount of money that was less than $250. And because I saw the same photo being used, the same exact photo from this auction, it got me thinking. I was like, this one was probably sold as a quote-unquote reprint.
Yep.
I can't think otherwise because people who have cards this big usually know what they have. Yeah. It's like the guy that comes into your shop and he's got a stack of really nice cards in nice condition, and he doesn't care what he gets for them, and he doesn't know what he has. You can pretty much guarantee they're stolen. like yeah. I don't care. They're just, I don't know what they are. Just what do you get from me? That's like a stack of Manals,
Yeah, it's definitely suspicious.
Yeah. So,
and I mean, if you go on eBay right now and type in Mike Trout reprint,
there are tons.
and there are tons. And
Tons.
I mean, Topps has legitimately reprinted
Yeah.
his famous 2011 rookie
Yeah.
card.
Totally.
So, like, if you want to buy a reprint, which I've thought about doing, I still think a reprint is still a little significant
Hmm.
because it's such a big card. But yeah, the counterfeit stuff is just so shady. I mean, there's counterfeits of the 2009 Bowman Chrome Trout.
Right.
So they have like a facsimile autograph. I mean, it's just so super fake. And those are all over eBay right now.
Yeah, like if you're listening, just be careful. Do your homework. Don't be afraid to ask questions of the seller. PM them, ask them how they acquired it, how much. You might even ask how much they paid for it, and also respect their decision not to share that information with you because some people don't like to share that information. So with me, I embrace some reprints of some cards. Like I just like that Topps produces a reprint of a card. They might change like the border to blue, like in 2013 Bowman Blue Sapphire reprints. And there was a whole line of like reprinted cards that were famous Bowman Chrome cards, and they reprinted them all in blue Chrome, and they look great. I mean, Topps did a great job producing that set. That's a legitimately decent like card to have because it's produced by Topps.
Hmm.
It is in fact a reprint, an official reprint. It's not a counterfeit. It's an official reprint, and they're affordable. So if you can't afford the original one, and most of these cards are affordable anyway, but if you want to get like a variation of the card, this is a great set. 2013 Bowman Blue Sapphire. It's a cool set. I like it. And so they're just reprints of cards that have been produced in the past. They say reprint on the back. If you bought in 2013, you remember the set. I just happen to like some of the stuff Topps reproduces year to year. This year they've got the iconic rookies, and there's a bunch of different classic cards in that set. And so those are actually authentic reprints as well. So
Is that yeah Topps flagship product?
yeah, Topps flagship, and you can get the Strasbourg Topps card as a reprint, and there's a bunch of others that are classics throughout the many years Topps has been a brand. So definitely check that out if you're interested in getting throw some variation in your collection. That's kind of cool, and it's affordable. They're affordable, and there's also a 150 parallel that you can get of those reprints as well. I picked up the Strasbourg base and the parallel just because why not? They're cheap, and so yeah. Anyway, just do your homework. If you see something that looks like it's not really produced by Topps, it's just somebody reproducing something that was originally produced by Topps. Just be very wary when you see something of such a good deal. That's such a high dollar card. Sometimes it's good to pay market because it's real, right? That's one of the indicators that it would be real. Anyway, just want to touch on that. Ryan, do you have any comments on that one?
Nope. I think well maybe one thought. Speaking of reprints, from what I remember, the Honus Wagner T206, probably the most legendary card of all time. I believe there is a somewhat sizable market for reprints of that card
Yeah, people buy
because
them.
it's such a huge card, and I think people buy them knowing they're reprints, and maybe you want to display it in your office or in your home or something, just because it's such an iconic image. I guess it'd be like buying a print of a famous piece of art to display in your home.
Yeah, and it's cheap.
You're like, it's not real, but I just love that card or I love that piece of art,
Right.
so I'm just going to buy this affordable reprint or buy this affordable print and, have some sort of connection to it as opposed to just not having anything.
Yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of great uses for that kind of thing. But the first benefit to having one of those as a reprint is it's like they're very, very affordable. You're not having to spend $1 million or multiples of millions of dollars on the original. You can have a reprint for a couple bucks, and then you can put it in a case and throw it on your desk or your office or on your mantle or a backdrop on a video or whatever. And you can use it as like fodder, right? It's like extra stuff, like bells, just extra just throw-ins for things, and that's fine. That Sporting News Babe Ruth card where he's pitching, you can get reprints of that as well for just a couple bucks. And that's another one of those things, like most of us don't have a couple of $100,000 to spend on a low grade copy of that card, but we do have like $10 to buy a reprint of it or $5 or whatever. I've seen many of those out in the wild. people don't sell them to me. I think it's because some of those are fakes. They're just flat out fakes. I don't know if the Paul Goldschmidt will ever get to that point. I don't know if fake Trout rookies will ever get to a place where they're embraced and people want them on their mantle. But like the T206, the Sporting News Ruth, I think those cards will have a special place in the hobby just because, people appreciate having something that they can't, having a version of something they can't have the original copy of. And that's, there's something to be said for that, I think.
Absolutely. I think given the right price, I would be interested in a Honus Wagner reprint just to kind of like have in my desk or something. I mean, it's just such a cool piece. Like, why not?
Yeah, and there's a bunch of different ones that have been produced over the years by the companies. And so I've got one in my T206 low-grade run. I bought just the classic issue that was produced in the early 90s that talks about the card on the back and its value. It's got a little red block, and then the back is white, and it just discusses the two things. And it came from a set that has all the cards that are like that. They're all, they're cards that talk about the players, and that it's like a commemorative set, and then they have some stuff on the side that are just reprints of classic cards. And the Wagner was one of them. But that's just one of many. That card's been reproduced many times, so there are a lot of different versions of reprints of that T206 card. So anyway, I'm glad we got to talk about that. That's kind of cool to talk about these kinds of things, just to kind of like touch base on some of the stuff we discussed previously, and to kind of roll it into the next couple of things we're going to be discussing here. Interesting thing happened recently. Now, baseball cards are found. Big finds happen in the hobby, and they're covered. You might remember the Black Swamp find from 2012. There was the Lucky 7 Ty Cobb find some years ago. And then recently we have what's called the Beer Box find. Yeah, Mile High Card Company. I've bought from them before. They received a call from a gentleman who had found in the attic a bunch of unopened or nearly complete boxes of old sports cards. So get this. Here's a list of stuff that's been discussed or covered. Near complete box of 1948 Bowman. Now, I don't know anybody who's ever seen even a sealed pack of this stuff, right? This guy has a near complete box of 48 Bowman. That's like, I guess the valuation potential before auction is $500,000 for that box just by itself.
It's huge.
Huge. And I guess the packs, they're thick because they put 3 pieces of bubble gum in there instead of just one. Jam the bubble gum in there. I guess the thing was to drive a sugar rush to get the people to buy the product.
There you go.
So that was cool. Next on the list is an unopened box of 1961 Fleer basketball. Now, Ryan, I know you have some experience with this set.
Yeah. I was collecting it for a while, and unopened packs I came across somewhat frequently, and they fetched a pretty penny. And I always thought that if I completed the set, I would look into an unopened pack just to sort of round it out in a way. But they were always super expensive. You could get them graded. There's some crazy graded examples of this gigantic PSA plastic case. So yeah, it really kind of an interesting eras we're spanning here, because like 48 Bowman to 61 Fleer basketball. I'd love to know the story behind, like, maybe this person owned a convenience store or something, and it was like overstock that they just sort of threw into their attic and forgot about, or if they were actually interested in sports cards. I mean, it's kind of you always hear about attic finds, and it's usually like a specific, like I found a set of this specific, from a specific year, from a specific sport.
Yeah.
But we have, all the 3, we have football, baseball, and basketball.
Well, so the article from Forbes, which I'll link to in the blog post if you want to read more about this. I guess the late uncle that owned this, he owned and operated a confectionery company that produced non-sports bubblegum cards of popular TV shows in the late 60s. I mean, I'm reading this right now on the article. He bought some sports cards in their original boxes for R&D purposes. And he probably considered opening them at one point, just never did. And so here we are with the product, and it's significant. So Yeah, and the next box here is a near complete box of 62 Topps football. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this set, it's got the Fran Tarkenton rookie. That's the big one. Obviously, the 61 Fleer basketball, you've got the Wilt Chamberlain, the Jerry West, and what's the other big one in that
Oscar Robertson.
Yeah. I mean, there
a lot of big names in that set.
Yeah, there are a bunch of big names in the basketball set. So if you think about what you've got here, it's just a very rare occurrence of some stuff most of us never get to see in a lifetime. I mean, I don't know when I'll see another piece of coverage on the 48 Bowman box that's nearly complete. That might be a once in a lifetime thing. It's going to do well at auction. I'm certain of it. All three of these items, and if whatever else is in the collection, I'm only aware of the three pieces here, but. Really cool stuff, next big find. I love seeing the finds. They're so cool.
So let's say hypothetically, if you were someone with the means to go out and bid on this sort of thing, would you open the packs at all, or would you just sort of buy it as it is?
You got to remember what we're talking about here. These are endangered species, my friend. So 48 Bowman, you keep that intact. You do not open that stuff. I wouldn't. What I would do is just hang on to it and then resell it in 10, 15 years again. I would keep everything intact. I might even grade the packs, have all the packs graded, or have the whole production of the box graded or something. Have it authenticated or something to really certify the thing. And then I would list it in a high-end auction house, sometime down the line. Same with the rest of these boxes here. I just wouldn't open them. An open box of 61 Fleer basketball. It's super super rare.
Mm-hmm.
I think the guy was saying that an unopened pack of 48 Bowman basketball fetched $55,200 in a memory lane auction.
Oh gosh!
Single pack.
Wow.
So, and these packs are so rare. I wouldn't dare to open them. I think about vintage wax as something we should just all respect to keep it sealed as it is. The rest of it, whatever's left of it, because it's so rare, you never see it. If we can keep some of this stuff intact and unopened, we can enjoy these cards no matter because they're all available online 24/7, 365 in a perpetuity.
Exactly.
Why open this stuff and see the same stuff you can find online all day long?
And that's why if you do what you said that you would do is, just hold on to it, sell it 10, 15 years. You can take that money if you're sincerely interested in the 48 Bowman set or the 61 Fleer basketball. You can take that money and go cherry pick whatever card you want from that set.
Right. Yeah. You can turn this around to get whatever card you want in the set or the box or the packs or whatever.
You don't have to wave goodbye to those cards, and definitely just, if you really want one and you don't want to ruin the integrity of an unopened pack or an unopened box, sell what you have and buy the card that you're interested in, because I agree with you. I don't think it's right to go ripping these things and leave them how they are. And if you're really interested in a specific card, like you said, there are thousands and thousands of examples of these on eBay.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff belongs in a museum. So I think touching and tampering and opening, I think what you're doing is you're damaging artifacts. I look at vintage wax as they're in the artifact category, the legendary status category of rarity. Dude, let them be. Leave them alone. If you want singles, go to eBay and buy singles. Leave these packs alone. Well, we might not ever see another box of 48 Bowman ever. And so I don't know. For me, I have this preservation mindset with the old stuff. How do we keep it intact? That's why I don't peel cards.
Yep.
I keep things intact, and that's important to me just because I like things factory. I just want them to be completely factory as much as possible. I don't even open post packs that come in the cereal boxes. I just leave them all intact. But anyway, I want to touch on that because...
and to your point about we've never seen this before, when I was reading this Forbes article, which I implore everybody to do, super interesting.
It is.
The first image that pops up is of the 48 Bowman box with the packs inside. And at first, I was just sort of glancing over it that's maybe just a stock image that somebody threw up there, some random old baseball cards. But I was like, oh, no, that's actually what it looks like.
Yeah.
I've never seen one before. And so it never registered. I've seen old 50s Topps packs and boxes because those are around, and I've seen pictures of them online, but I've never seen a 48 Bowman. So it just didn't really click in my head how significant it was until I read the description of the image. Um, and I'd be surprised if anybody else has actually seen something like this too. I mean, this is like
It's
ultra rare.
super, super rare. It doesn't even say Bowman on the box. It just says Play
Yeah,
Ball
just
Bubble
play
Gum.
bubble gum.
Amazing. It's amazing. And it's just
Cool.
really, really amazing stuff. And so, in the current market, we all throw away our boxes once we open the packs. We throw away the wrappers, we throw away the boxes. But if you fast forward 100 years and someone finds your collection, we're gone, whatever, and someone's going to be like, oh my gosh, a 2019 sealed box of 2019 Topps baseball. What was the last time we saw a pack of this? It's like I think like that sometimes. Like what is produced now could potentially become valuable way, way, way down the line. And so I myself am not buying wax and hanging on to it, but some people might. Some people might be collecting this stuff. Buying a sealed box, and it might be nice to hang on to this stuff just for, your kids' sake or whatever. Whoever you will your collection off to, or whoever, and have instructions on how to sell this stuff. But I just want to talk about that because we don't see boxes of this. Is the first time for me seeing a box of 48 Bowman. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know what packs look like. And so, I just want to talk about that. Dan actually forwarded this link to me. Cool stuff. Let's move on here. 1989 Upper Deck was an interesting year. Obviously, everybody knows it's the first year Upper Deck for baseball. And they did a lot of test runs of this product. There are like multiple printed cards, and like there's panels. There's like a panel of cards you can get with Dwayne Bice, and Dwayne Bice and Wally Joyner were the guys featured on the actual promo cards that were produced for the set to like market the actual set. And there are variations of those promo cards. That's story for another time. But recently, a panel with 4 cards that includes the Griffey surfaced, and it's authenticated by BGS and it's signed by Griffey. And the panel is on eBay for just south of $600. And I think about this and I'm like, gosh, first of all, the panels are rare. It's authenticated and it's signed by Griffey on the key card in the set, like one of the most iconic rookie cards of all time. And I'm thinking, $5.95 might not be that bad a deal. And they've got a best offer option. I'm like, that's a pretty cool piece. If I were a Griffey collector, like still, I'm sort of a recovering Griffey collector because I collected him in the 90s with Thomas. I always collected Thomas a little more, but it was Griffey and Thomas for the 2 guys I was collecting in the 90s. So if I were still collecting Griffey, I'd probably try to find a way to get this into my collection because it's such a unique item, such a unique piece.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you also have Luis Medina, De Los Santos, and Ron Jones. Sorry, I'm reading upside down here.
Right,
so.
yeah. I mean, I'd only be getting it because it's Luis Medina's rookie card.
Yeah, I mean, the Griffey stuff is cool, but come on. Luis Medina.
I know. I like this panel. It's still got the print lines, like the cut lines on it.
Yeah, it's super cool. I wonder what so obviously it was cut from a larger piece.
Of course.
And I wonder if that's what's turning some people off to it, because I agree with you. Like for this price, if I were a Griffey collector, which there are many Griffey collectors out there, I mean, I'd be all over this for that kind of price.
So if you look at the back, and I'll link to this in the blog post so you can see it if you want, anybody who's interested. If you look at the back image of this thing, you can tell it was a scrapped sheet because the holograms don't line up.
Oh, yeah, I see that now.
So this would have been essentially garbage. And so somebody grabbed it and like, I'm going to cut this panel out and have Griffey sign it, whatever. I think it's cool. I like it. It's nice little item to have. Kind of an interesting piece. It's something you don't see every day. I mean, I've seen a lot of sheets of 89 Upper Deck throughout the hobby. I've got one in my own collection of Dwayne Bice. Anyway, just want to talk about that because these 89 Upper Deck panels and these weird obscure versions of these cards are available. They're out there. I've seen a lot of them. I just want to touch on this one because it's it's a really iconic rookie card, and it's presented to you in a very kind of unique way. So cool stuff. The other day I was surfing eBay and saw in a related search, it was the 2010 Topps Chrome Super Fractor Auto of Giancarlo Stanton. If you just want to see what this card looks like, just click on the link below in the article, and you can take a look at this thing. It's really cool. I'm not in the market for this thing at $40,000, but I think it's a really nice piece, and it's good just to at least archive a scan of the thing. Just a cool item. I'm a big fan of the 2010 Topps stuff, though. I just think the design was really done well that year.
Yeah, this is a pretty legendary set.
Yeah, tons of big names.
The bin is a bit high, in my opinion, but he's a superstar at the moment.
Yeah.
I have some of his rookie stuff, so I'm hoping it stays that way. But gosh, I mean, even if I were a Stanton super collector, I'm not sure I'd be in on that for that price.
Well, I mean,
it's a huge asking price.
It is, but to be fair, they do have an offer on there, and so that's nice. So I don't
And
know.
I'm sure the seller's getting a lot of offers right now.
Yeah, I don't know where this would go if it hit auction though. Like, where do you think this would if this ran a 99-cent auction with no reserve? Where do you think it would end?
For like 7-10 days. I mean, I would say maybe between like the 8 and 10 grand.
You think that high, really?
Yeah, I mean, I always multiply any Yankees player like by 2 or 3 whenever I'm thinking about what a card could go for.
Right.
I always think of inflation a little bit that way. But yeah, I mean, if he was still playing down in Miami, that might be a different story. What do you think it would go for? Straight out.
I'm in the 3,500 to 5,000 bracket. I don't think this is a 5-figure card. I think this is a 4-figure card, but because it's a modern superfractor and he's been playing for a while, and this is one of countless numbers of superfractors. I just look at the superfractor market as it is today, where it stands, and because there's so many superfractors out there, it's hard to pinpoint and make a big deal about any one of them, if that makes sense. Okay, so here's the thing: if Mike Stanton if this were a 2019 Bowman Chrome Superfractor auto of Mike Stanton, and this was his first year playing ball, and this card just surfaced, and he's we're like halfway into the season, yeah, I could see huge dollar figures, like you were saying, 8 to 10 grand. But because this is now a 9-year-old card, he's been playing for 9 years. Yes, he's found in other products before 2010, but this is his rookie year card, not his prospect card. And so I just see that like the hype around this card wouldn't be where it could be if this were 2010. Does that make sense? That's why my valuation is between like 3,500 and 5 grand. I just don't. I have a hard time believing it would cap beyond that.
I would also be more interested in the 2008 Bowman Chrome.
Oh yeah,
Stanton rookie. If I were really going to go after a big Stanton card, that's where I would start.
Yeah, that's a good one.
2010 is clearly a great example. It's a classic set. Mm-hmm. But if I had the kind of money to afford the card we're talking about, like why not go for a big card from 2008? Because that's the real Stanton rookie.
Right. I mean, if you want the first time he appeared on cardboard, it's licensed by the MLBPA. The 2008 Bowman Chrome is going to be the one you're going to want to go after.
Yeah.
And those are signed as well.
There's a 2008 gold autograph that sold. What was that? It was a best offer. They were asking $3,200 for it, so they probably settled, just below that. But
I could tell you what that sold for if you give me a second.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be the official quote unquote rookie card of Mike Stanton. Not rookie year. He hasn't come up yet. He hadn't come up yet at that time. There is a distinguishable difference between rookie card and rookie year card. And
the gold from 2008 is numbered at a 50. The superfractor from 2010 is obviously numbered at a 1. So there's a big difference there, but the gold is still super rare.
$2,150.
Okay, so
$2,150 on that gold auto refractor. And I've seen like other. I want to say I've seen like an orange one. Yeah, I saw an orange one some years ago. I don't know what it closed at. Like I don't know what the closing price was on the orange one, but I've seen rare versions of this card, rare parallels. PWCC sold an X-Fractor of that card for $2,425, which is more expensive than the much more elusive gold parallel. Granted, the X-Fractor was a PSA 10, the gold refractor was a BGS 8. So you've got the condition difference. Now, to me, Cards like this, and I talked about this before, rarity sometimes vastly outweighs any significance condition would ever have. Like there are certain instances like I don't care that it's an 8. Don't even care. I've been looking for this card for 10, 15 years or whatever, and the guy it's selling it's an 8. It makes it easier on me budget wise, you know? I almost prefer that it's an 8 and not a 10 because I don't have to spend like 5 figures on the thing. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And so in this case, I would prefer the gold refractor at 2100 over the X fractor and a 10 at 2400. I could save a few bucks and I get an even rarer card. Yeah, because it's like slightly OC or whatever. I don't care. I can still enjoy the card for what it is. It doesn't have to be perfect, you know? So, anyway, here's me blabbing on about this stuff. Right? Anyway, I just want to touch on those points. Thanks for joining me, Ryan, for this podcast. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for tuning in to the Radicards podcast and radicards.com. And until next time, enjoy collecting. If you like this content, please subscribe. Thank you. Enjoy collecting.